Okay, so now we're back for the next stuff as we were in the game shows. I know I'm going on about this. We also have Nickelodeon Guts. Do you have it? Ooh, do you have it? Guts. Hang on a sec. Seeing like something on here. Okay, so here we go. Nickelodeon Guts was also hosted by Mike O'Malley as well. One of the better shows that he hosts on here, more than Get the Picture. But even though both of them were good, but Guts is just a little bit better. Let me see. Yeah, it was just a better show for me, just because it was more entertaining, you know. Then we also have Legends of the Hidden Temple. Pretty much everybody's favorite show, but this was too educational for me, just because it was, well, a lot of history and stuff. But for me, it pretty much was hard. And you go into Olmec's temple and look for all this hidden stuff, and I remember I'd be watching and be like rooting on the players and be like, okay, put the monkey together, now hurry up and get the hell out of the temple, hurry, hurry, hurry. Yeah. The Olmec was pretty cool, you know, the talking headstone guy, and he'd always be saying like, let's rock. Yeah, he was pretty cool. And it was hosted by Kirk Fogg as well. Then we had the spin-off of Nickelodeon Guts, and it was Global Guts. This one didn't last long, from September 95 to January 96. Yeah, it really did not last that long. Okay, Global Guts is just basically about somebody who was, excuse me, these kids, like, from other countries, like, Germany or anywhere else they could be from, and they would compete on Global Guts. And also, Maura Quirk, who was the referee, or the woman blowing the whistle, going, on your mark, get set, and blow the whistle. And we also, of course, have Figure It Out. And they did do a revival of this show. It lasts from June 11th, 2012 to July 16th, 2013. You can't replace, you know, the classic ones, you know. You can't replace a classic. Let's see. I already mentioned You're On. Then the rest of them just came later. I don't think we'll get into that. Let's see here. Now, of course, we also have, you know, the, well, of course the Nick at Night shows, but some of them are not 90s. Well, Full House is for me. I did watch Full House as well. I'm a big fan of Bob Saget, and Bob Saget, of course, hosted that show, America's Funniest Home Videos, you probably remember. And I absolutely did love America's Funniest Home Videos. I loved all the stuff he did, you know, like when you do the voices of somebody, like if somebody fell down or slipped or anything like that. I always loved whenever he did that. Loved the theme song as well. And, yeah, I always did enjoy that. That's one of them. Now, what is... Alright, where is, Then, of course, we have Nick Jr. Now, don't get me wrong or anything on this, but I did watch shows from Nick Jr. just because I was growing up in the 90s and before I reached the age of 10 and stuff, and I did watch them. We have Blue's Clues. Now, Blue's Clues, if you don't know what it is, it's Steve Burns, the guy who was on the show before with a little blue dog named Blue. And they play this game of Blue's Clues. Like, they look for clues and they try to solve anything. Like, what does Blue want to do today? What experiment does Blue want to learn or anything like that? Basically that. Yeah, it was a pretty good show. It lasted from 1996 to 2006. Then Steve was later replaced by a guy named Joe, who was his brother on the show. But really, he was not his brother. He replaced Steve because Steve was going to college, but in reality, Steve Burns left the show because he was losing his hair and he was going bald, and he didn't want to see the kids on there see him losing his hair, pretty much. So that is the real reason why he left. But all the stuff they did, it was fun and stuff, and I loved watching it, like the one they did, which is Blue's birthday or something like that. I enjoyed that one. Yeah, and a few others too, but that's just one of them. Okay, now let's switch on to something else. Let's do other TV shows. Well, one TV show I did watch a lot of growing up that was one of my favorites was Doogie Howser, MD. If you don't remember Doogie Howser, MD, it stars Neil Patrick Harris. The guy was played by Neil Patrick Harris, who was on the TV show How I Met Your Mother. And every episode would end with him typing on his computer, like in his little diary, saying, like, on this day or whatever, I was at the hospital working with my friends and workers, and I'm glad to be working there still, or anything, or I spent the day with my girlfriend Wanda, or anything like that. Basically, yeah. Let me see. Yeah, but that was just one of them I basically loved. Now, let's get on to another subject. Let's get off of TV shows and let's move on to something else. Let's talk about, let's see here. Let's talk about the 90s music. Let's talk about, the stuff that we had. Like, one of the biggest bands that I will mention in the 90s that was pretty big, even though they lasted from 87 to 94, but even though they were pretty cool in the 90s, that is Nirvana. Nirvana, who is a group that had Kurt Cobain in there, also married to Courtney Love, I'm sorry. But, he was the lead singer of the group, and he unfortunately passed in 1994. Yeah, it's still sad and stuff. But their music pretty much blew a lot of people away, like Smells Like Teen Spirit, then you got their album Nevermind or something like that, like Drain You, In Bloom, and a few others as well, and another one called Heart Shaped Box. That one is a little bit controversial, maybe, and the music video was as well. Now, another show we'll mention, this was one of my favorites growing up. This was a cartoon show. This was more like an adult cartoon. This was called Beavis and Butthead. They are still on, but they're just on a long hiatus. I don't know why, but Beavis and Butthead, they always did really fun stuff. They made me laugh a lot. And I did like the stuff they did, just because the jokes they say or the insults they do. It was really funny, in my opinion. Yeah, I just thought it was pretty funny. That was one of them. Much time we have? Okay. But yeah, that was just one of them that I liked. What else did we have? Well, let's talk about something else that I know that will, for sure, you know what I'm going to talk about. This is something I absolutely loved in the 90s, and I still do watch it this day, but not as much as I do, and that is the WWF wrestling. It's called WWE now. I call it worst wrestling ever, as in my opinion, it should not be called that. It should be called the WWF. Now, of course, you have all the wrestlers, like, from the 90s. Like, when we got to the beginning of the 90s, you still had Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior, who was going through a little bit of some controversy, well, some issues, like with Vince McMahon and stuff, with some contract issues or whatever, anything like that. Okay, so now Hulk Hogan, who was still with the business, but wound up leaving them in 1993 and joined WCW, which I don't think was a really good decision, but of course they formed the NWO, the New World Order, the black and white, and also came the NWO Wolfpack. Ow! I'm Wolfpack all the way, sorry to say. Wolfpack is in the house. Then you also had, well, I was a little bit of a fan of WCW, don't get me wrong. I liked Sting. I liked Bret Hart when he was with them, as he joined them in late 97 after the Montreal Screw job. Yeah, happened in 1997 at Survivor Series, and we all know damn well that Shawn Michaels did not screw Bret Hart. Earl Hebner, the referee, did not screw Bret Hart, and surely enough, Bret Hart did not screw Bret Hart. It was Vince McMahon, because he told Earl Hebner to ring the bell. He said, "Ring the fucking bell." He told him, and that he's the reason why he screwed Bret. But, you know, that's pretty much behind him now, and their differences are solved, and that's pretty much over. But Bret Hart, another one from the 90s as well. Who else we got? Who else we have? I know there's a bunch. Well, Sergeant Slaughter, another one as well, who's pretty much retired from wrestling. And unfortunately, some of these wrestlers that passed on as well, like Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior, Owen Hart, who was Bret Hart's brother, who also was really good as well. Let's see, let me think here. I did go to some wrestling events, don't get me wrong. I went to one in 1994, that was actually my first one I went to. Then I went to one in 1997, which was a house show. I did go to an event in 1996 with my mom and one of her ex-boyfriends, but it wound up being a bad experience for me because the lights went out, and I was a little bit upset with that, because I didn't like when the lights went out, and I didn't like fireworks either. I hated it. But now I like fireworks. So, yeah. Like I said, it was fun to go to wrestling events, but now they're just pretty much overpriced as hell. You know, they're just expensive. I mean, do you honestly want to pay $150 or $200 for a ticket on the floor to get all the good action of wrestling? Hell no. Or pay $500 or whatever for ringside seats for WrestleMania or anything like that? No effing way. Okay, now for the 90s wrestling, now all the pay-per-views, of course, they had in the 90s, like we had, you know, the Royal Rumble still. February there wasn't really that much pay-per-views until we got to the later years, like of 96 or 95, and then we had In Your House. In Your House, in my opinion, was awesome. They're hard to find on VHS. If you go on eBay, people usually ask like $112 or $150 for a tape, because they say they're rare. I do kind of believe that, but I have a new thing, which is over here. It's an In Your House Blu-ray, which features the best of In Your House, it's entitled. with a lot of classics from 1995 to 1999. I haven't even watched it yet, but I will one day. But it was definitely fun. Okay, so there you go. Just answer a message to somebody. Now, as well, I'm trying to think of what else. Let's see. Well, back to the pay-per-views. Now, In Your House, like I said, which came later. Then, of course, SummerSlam in August, which they still do. I think I'm going to go to the next part, so...